Welcome to Private Club Radio, the industry's first and only program dedicated to education, news, events, trends and announcements. Broadcasting from Tampa, Florida, ladies and gentlemen, here is your host, Gabriel Aloisi.
Every little boy and girl has a dream when they're growing up. What they want to be a policeman or a fireman or an astronaut or the president of the United States. Well, my dream as a kid growing up, I wanted to be an architect, believe it or not. Kind of strange. I guess I was a unique little kid. I wanted to be an architect. I didn't grow up to be an architect. I grew up to be a designer. And then, of course, opened my own agency that turned into a design and marketing agency. But always have had that little passion in the back of my mind. And loving golf the way I love golf probably would be the ultimate to actually design a golf course. So I'm really excited about today's guest, who is Greg Martin. Greg is the president of the American Society of Golf Course Architects. So I get to speak to somebody about something that I'm really interested in. I'll be geeking out over. Should be a pretty good one. Greg has got a lot to say about the trends in golf course architecture, some ideas on how golf courses can actually be places of natural refuge and conservation. And we talk about how golf courses are changing in response to the modern game and to the younger generations that are taking it up. So I'm excited to have Greg on today for sure. So this is episode 30 of Private Club Radio. That means there's 29 experts that you need to go back and listen to if you haven't already. And we just made that process very easy to do on our website. You can now choose the topic that you want to hear. You simply push the topic button and all the experts will sort of crisscross and move around, and you'll see which ones have to do with the topic that you're interested in. So if it's food and beverage, if it's golf course architecture, if it's association leaders, club management, whatever the case may be that you want to see, click that topic button on our website, and then you can binge listen Netflix style to the experts that we've had on this show. And of course, every Monday we drop a new episode, so our library is continually building. To catch those episodes right as they happen, make sure that you have the podcast app on your iPhone or either the Stitcher app or the Google Play Music app on your Android phone. If you need any help subscribing, just simply go to privateclubradio.com/subscribe and we'll get you set up. We'll have Greg Martin with us when we return.
Why do over 60% of Boardroom Magazine's distinguished clubs choose to partner with Club Essential? The better question is, why not? As the leading provider of club management and marketing software to over 1,400 private clubs, our unified suite of modules are designed to automate club operations while informing and engaging members. From websites to accounting and POS to CRM, online reservations, and mobile apps, Club Essential has all of your club's technology needs covered. Visit clubessential.com to learn how our experienced team can help your club. Again, that's clubessential.com.
I'm joined today by Greg Martin. Greg is the founder of Martin Design and the current American Society of Golf Course Architects president. He's been practicing golf course architecture since 1985, providing services to private clubs, the public sector, and golf course architecture for residential golf course communities. Working primarily in the Midwest, his work ranges from Southwest Missouri to northern Wisconsin. Greg, welcome to Private Club Radio.
Great to be here. Thank you very much, Gabe.
Greg, for folks who don't know much about your association, can you give us a little bit of an overview?
The American Society of Golf Course Architects was founded in 1946 by a small group of golf course architects and led by the famed Donald Ross. They met in Pinehurst and created a small association, and since then it has grown in both size and stature.
Are younger folks getting into the profession these days, Greg? What is the makeup of your membership looking like right now?
The current makeup of the membership is very, very diverse. We have international names and we have very local names. The biggest aspect of our association is to make sure that Those who join and those who are accepted for membership are qualified to design golf courses and build golf courses, making sure that not only the playability of the golf course meets certain standards from a safety standpoint and a technical standpoint and an aesthetic standpoint, but also making sure that the game can continue to thrive and grow. We have names, everything from Arnold Palmer and Jack Nicklaus down to the locals that many regions would appreciate. I would consider myself somewhere in the middle of all of that. But we have a membership that reaches 180 members, plus or minus. And it fluctuates depending on the economy and the way the golf industry grows.
Well, what should clubs be thinking about when they're hiring a designer, Greg? Should they just go after a big name, like you mentioned Palmer or one of these guys, or should they actually have some other considerations?
It really should be based upon the specifics of the project. If your project is regional in scope, you should be looking for an architect that understands the aspects and the true nature of the specifics of that area. It doesn't help to have someone coming in from Texas when you're building something in northern Wisconsin, but that doesn't mean that person from Texas wouldn't have a very, very good understanding of what those issues are. Not only that, but you might have something that is a little more national or international in nature, and if that's the case, you might want to reach someone from with those kinds of capabilities. So it really depends on the specifics of the project, and there's no real right way. There are many better ways.
Who, in your opinion, right now are sort of the hot designers, the ones that are really sought after and people are looking to have either design or redesign their clubs?
Well, certainly you have the names like Gil Hands, who has done some remarkable work in a number of places and who just completed the Olympic course, which we'll see here in a couple of weeks. Bill Core and Ben Crenshaw are another pair that are reaching a big audience. They have a minimalist view, and that is something that is reaching a lot of places and getting quite popular for a variety of reasons. Mostly because it resonates to not only golfers and how they view the game, but also its sustainability. You also have Trip Davis, Lester George, Jeff Bloom, John Sanford. Those are all great names in the industry that are reaching a wider spectrum.
For a while, their courses were getting longer. That was the trend. They were getting longer and more challenging for your average golfer. What are the current design trends that are happening?
I think you're seeing a return to width rather than length. It's interesting. Length tended to push the game in places it probably shouldn't go, and length was a response to the attempt to protect par. There is a current trend, and it shouldn't even be a current trend, but it's a trend that really is maybe returning to the basic elements and the DNA of the game, and that is providing width and strategy. And when you go wider, you can, as an architect, you can do more with a particular golf hole, and you can do more things on a golf course. Given 18 holes with varying length and playability and strategy and challenge. So there is that. Certainly, there is more firm and fast conditions being developed, and the ideas of I wouldn't say necessarily links, but creating strategy with firmer and faster conditions. And that also reduces water needs and water demands. So there's some things that are being created from that standpoint. You've seen the USGA go to venues that are firmer and faster. You saw what happened at Pinehurst a few years back, and Chambers Bay. Now, many people would argue that those kinds of facilities looked bad, but in fact, you had championships that really demanded some solid play, and the better golfers ended up being there at the end. So you're seeing a return to a firm and fast game.
Yeah, when you said it kind of looked bad, was that due to I think there was a little poana that they let grow on the greens and things like that?
Yeah, it just didn't present when I say look bad, for the vast majority of golfers in the public, that was uncommon for them to see. I mean, they're used to seeing green from edge to edge. And when you see modeled fairways and less than a mono stand of turf, they perceive the game to be something less than what they have come to believe or expect. So the game is changing, and those kinds of conditions are going to be more prevalent. And what's interesting is that the game should be going in that direction, because the game is founded on match play rather than stroke play. And when you have the rub of the green, like many of those venues provide, and what you saw at Troon, you have a more interesting and engaging game.
Why do you think that is?
That it's more interesting and engaging?
Yeah.
There's the bounce and the roll of the game, or of the ball, and the game tends to have a little bit more strategy involved, where you have to play away from the hole and think your way through it rather than aim at specific targets. The last 30, 40 years of golf tended to be based upon protecting par and creating targets. Now we're creating strategy and building more interest into the game. So there's some things that are evolving within the game itself from a design standpoint that I think will be beneficial in the long run.
When you're designing a course, Greg, I know that you're really big into the natural features of the land. Can you tell us about how that all works with your philosophy there?
Well, I don't think I'm the only one. I think most architects would begin with those basic foundations. But what really compels me as an architect and a designer is to take clues and take cues from the existing grades and topography of a particular site. So if you can find those things and really create and use those features, the uniqueness of the property will shine, and that's the most compelling aspect of what golfers are looking for. They're looking for unique and authentic experiences, and if you can provide that and let the site really shine, I think not only will the game be more engaging, but the golf course will be more sustainable too.
Well said. I'm going to read a quote here that I've seen attributed to you. It says, "I'm most inspired by projects that compel me to think about how golf can solve greater problems." Greg, can you explain to us what that means?
The game of golf is certainly unique in the fact that it's played on fields that are not the same. You can go 5 miles from one golf course to another and see and play entirely different venue. When you have that kind of ability to create a golf facility that is unique and interesting, the golf course itself can morph and change and evolve and bend. And because we can do that as designers, we can also provide potential solutions for the community as a whole. I've had a number of projects where they've asked to solve stormwater management on the golf course, and we've managed to do that while providing a fantastic and unique and interesting place to recreate. So neighborhoods are gaining from the existence of that golf course, whether they play golf or not. That's not unique. That is happening everywhere, and we're seeing more and more of it, where golf courses are asked to take on more and more of the local problems, whether it be stormwater management or wetland creation, water quality issues, habitat enhancement, or more open green space. Those things are happening everywhere.
I know the Environmental Protection Agency is sort of putting out some legislation. It's called the Waters of the United States of America rule. How is that affecting you guys as the American Society of Golf Course Architects? Is that something where you're going to have to start building around these types of legislation?
Yeah, WOTUS is a very, very restrictive initiative, and there has been a stay in the courts, so we haven't had to do anything yet. But it is quite restrictive, and it would impact how we would manage a particular project. So I don't anticipate that particular legislation will move forward. There is a pretty strong backlash to that intent. That said, the idea of it makes sense. I think it just seemed to be a little bit of an overreach.
Sure. I mean, I know we have the National Club Association kind of going to bat for this industry, and that's one of the main things that they're working on. Greg, when you're designing a course, or when one of these better designers out there are designing a course, are you designing it for like the average bogey golfer, or are you designing it for a specific type of person, or are you just going after what the land gives you?
It's a combination. You have to take into account the market that the golf course is focusing on. You have to take into account the land and what the land is giving you, and you also have to take into account the budget and what you're looking for. If you have a high-end project that is reaching for very, very astute and higher-end golfer, you can do different things. If you're looking at a municipal project that has limited resources, you have to build the golf course for that audience. That's where you start, and then you begin to build back from what the ground gives you. What's interesting is public golf courses. Some people would imagine that a public golf course is somehow dumbed down or less than its neighboring private facility or resort facility. What I've found is that oftentimes public golf in this new economy has to be more things for more people because there's a wider audience playing the game there. So you need to build in certain things that would attract not only the novice golfer and the average golfer, but also the better golfer who might be playing there once or twice a year. It really needs to be more for more people. A private club, you can narrow that range of potential golfing ability a little bit more.
That makes complete sense. We have a new generation kind of starting to come up in the ranks, the millennials, which are right now about age 20 to 35, these younger folks out there. And they want a completely different experience, right? So, they're out there in their carts listening to music. They want to play a shorter round very often. Are you taking this generation into consideration? And if so, what changes are you making in how you actually design these properties?
If we aren't taking them into consideration, we will soon be lost.
Sure.
I made the point the other day that Marriott and Hilton, were approached and they were told about Airbnb, and they kind of sloughed it off as saying that they weren't the competition. I think the same thing happened to Kodak, 25 years ago when digital photography was coming on board. If you're not seeing yourself as your customers see you, you will lose the game. And we need to see ourselves, and we need to see our industry as our customers see our industry. We can't just project what we think is right. We need to listen, and and that takes a fair amount of courage and a fair amount of brutal honesty to see what we're doing. That said, we have a game to also protect, and we need to be very, very careful about how we steward not only the land but also the game. If you're not listening and if you're not taking that into account, you will have a hard time competing. Now, competition on a local level is quite different than competition on a global or industry level. The game starts local. All golf starts local. So we need to make sure that we protect and we create venues that can help build an industry that makes sense. And more local golf is necessary. That means more authentic experiences. I don't know if we necessarily have to have boom boxes on every cart, but this generation, they want unique and authentic experiences that they can share with their friends. That's what they're looking for. While they walk around with their smartphones looking for Pokemon, there's that's not necessarily a bad thing. But what it tells me is that they're also looking for places to go and experiences to see with their friends. Golf has a unique opportunity to capture that. They want those kinds of experiences. We need to make sure that we provide that.
That's excellent advice. I think, they're definitely much more into experiences rather than the material things of the past generations. How do you actually build that into a course, though? What sort of things do you start to do to make it so unique and make it a once in a lifetime experience to play it?
There's the rub. That's where the challenge begins. How do you take a game and that has been slow to move and slow to evolve, and change it into something that can react a little bit more differently and quickly to a society that is reacting and changing quickly. Um, I don't think you need to throw the baby out with the bathwater. I think we have something. This is an ancient game, and a wonderful game. I think we just need to adapt it to certain needs and wants and expectations. What those are, I don't think anybody has the magic bullet, but I think we're close. I think we're getting closer. I think we have membership at the ASGCA that is, creating 6-hole loops and 3-hole loops on an 18-hole golf course, or more family-oriented facilities that will be seen and accepted in ways that the past 30, 40 years haven't provided. So I think we're getting closer. I don't think it's one thing. I think it's a multitude of things that need to happen to make sure that the game evolves and changes and adapts without changing the game itself.
I see your philosophy is that simpler is better. Why is that so important to you?
Oh, I think the intent is I feel like I need to continue to edit myself and edit my work. It's easy to get caught up in what you see yesterday and think that's the best thing going, or what you think the best thing is going to be, and try to implement it into the next project or the next renovation. Again, it gets down to making sure that as you proceed through a project, that you do the right thing for that project and you do the right thing for that site. If you continue to do those things and try to keep in mind that this is something that is residing in a neighborhood and residing in a community, and keep it simple, keep the goals simple, keep the improvements simple, keep the ideas and values simple, the game will be better, the project will be better, the sustainability will likely be evident, and your communities will be better.
So our listenership is mostly made up of private club general managers and folks that sit on the board of some of these private clubs, membership directors and staff at private clubs. Should a club be looking for? How do they know when it's the right time to actually start to redesign their course? I was just down in Boca Raton, and a lot of clubs were doing redesigns. And I think it has to do right now with money's cheap to borrow. But what factors, in your opinion, should a club take into consideration when they're deciding that, hey, this is the right time to make actual renovation?
I think there's a number of things. First, when the age of the infrastructure gets to a point where you're spending more money trying to fix things than you are maintaining and providing a quality condition, I think it's time to look at a larger renovation. When you feel like the competition has passed you by, and you need to look at how your particular club is fitting in its specific niche in a marketplace, you might need some professional advice. The best thing to be looking for is how you feel your club is residing within the particular community, and if you can expand the base within your local footprint, I think that's also a good time to be looking at how to better make improvements to make sure that your community sees you as the thing that you think you are.
What was your favorite project of a course that you designed, and why?
Right now, I'm working on a project in the Chicagoland area that it was the old Elmhurst Country Club, and it was purchased by the Forest Preserve District of DuPage County, specifically for the intent of stormwater management. They did that back in 1985, and since then, a number of suburbs have grown to the north of this property. And as those suburbs have grown, it has pushed more stormwater into Salt Creek, which has continued to flood this particular piece of ground. We have spent about 5 years figuring out the best way to renovate this golf course, to first of all make it more flood resilient, but also how to make sure that the downstream residents would have lesser impact from these storm surges, and how to make sure that the habitat is improved. Those are lofty goals, and those are the kinds of projects that really get me excited. Can you fit a golf course in at the same time with competing interests, what used to be thought of as competing interests for stormwater management and habitat enhancement. We're doing that right now, and it's a fantastic project that will be open next year. Right now, that has my full attention, and it's quite engaging. Prior to that, I've had a number of projects, whether they be small municipal improvements or high-end private clubs, and each one of them carries with them different goals and different interests, and with different values. And the fun of it is to try to figure out exactly what the intent is and boil it down to make sure that those missions are accomplished.
Is there one particular project that stands out for you in your past, though?
Well, I've had a couple. One is it was a golf course that we needed to build for about $1.5 million up in Janesville, Wisconsin, at Glen Erin, and it's on an airport site, and it happens to be on a piece of sandy ground. We managed to do it, and it's quite engaging, quite fun, and we accomplished the goals that we had set out to, and it's a great fun golf course with no water on the entire project, and it was built with firm and fast conditions in mind. I also did a 6,000-yard golf course for the city of Aurora, Illinois, at Phillips Park, and the intent was to upgrade the golf course and still make it engaging and challenging. They recently had their city championship there at 6,000 yards, and the city of Aurora, Illinois, is a couple 100,000 people. They had 2 rounds that were under par. So the first thought was, well, how do you at 6,000 yards? That can't be possible. There's ways to do it. There's small little, there's magic involved, and you can twist a contour for the better player versus providing it more enjoyable for the average golfer. You can tuck pins. You can create ways so that it's impossible to attack a particular location, even at 6,000 yards. So there are ways to do it. So length isn't the only way to battle the better golfer. You can employ tactics that are much more subtle and much more nuanced. So those are the kinds of projects I like to talk about, because it tells me that there are ways to do this without resorting to this simple build it longer, and
Sure.
and you can challenge them.
I think Marion was a great example of that. That course isn't much longer than 6,000, and that was pretty challenging. I don't remember the exact score. I think it was like 4 or 5 under, maybe won it.
That's exactly the point. There are different ways to I hate to use the idea of defend par, but you can create a golf course that is really enjoyable for the vast majority of golfers that are average, less than average, but still provide in tuck those pin positions or create fairway cants and cross slopes that really challenge a better golfer to have to force him to think his way around.
I played a couple more recently designed courses, and one thing that I've seen a lot lately is clubs and courses where maybe you get a completely different look from 1-6 to the next 6 holes to the last 6, or the front 9 is kind of a different setup than the back 9. Is that a trend that you're seeing, or am I seeing things?
No, you probably saw the right thing. It may, in fact, just be that the architect was taking what the land was giving him and providing, and building in the strategies and the design and the aesthetic based upon what the ground was telling him. I had a project where the first 9 holes was literally in a lowland and built around an old farm channel that we created a series of lakes and wetlands, and it had an entirely different look from the back 9 because we were climbing into some hills and some oak woodland.
Yep.
So that was a response to the landscape, and frankly, for a variety of golfers, that's an enjoyable experience to get those 2 flavors.
Yeah, I liked it. The one I played, I think it was 6 was like a link style, the next 6 was a New England style, and the last 6 was something else. But it was definitely pretty cool. Yeah,
and I termed this one project, I said it's a little bit like jazz, where they started with a certain beat and a rhythm, and halfway through you change it up, and golfers have to react to that, and that can be that can be fun and engaging on a whole different level.
I love that analogy, jazz. Yeah, that's perfect. All right, so you're stranded on a desert island, Greg, and you've got one club there that you can play, and you got to play it, every day or however often you play golf. Who is it, and who was it designed by?
That's a loaded question. But if I were to choose one, Perry Maxwell would be my architect. Prairie Dunes and Crystal Downs, which he did with Mackenzie. The work that he does is I've used this analogy before that Pete Dye he's going to overwhelm your senses. He's going to throw everything at you and just make you wither based upon everything you're seeing and looking at. Well, Perry Maxwell does it an entirely different way. He stalks you and he lays everything down and you just keep getting bit by things that you didn't know existed. And that's a style of architecture that I really, really love and engage and it's just engaging, and you're looking around like, what's going to get me now? And Crystal Downs is the fairest, hardest golf course I've ever played. I thought it was just right out in front of me, and every time I looked up, I was having trouble getting to where I needed to go or putting it where I needed it to land it. And so if I had to play any architect, Perry Maxwell might be the guy.
Okay. And I ask this question to all my guests. I call it the bucket list question. So if there's one club, it should be a private club that people need to see before they die, or a course that they should play on a private club, what would that be for you?
Oh, Pine Valley. I think if you have the chance to get there, certainly in Chicago here, Shore Acres and in Chicago Golf, the National Golf Links. I know that's 4 of them right there, but those are all. And the interesting part about all of those, the common thread, is the variety and the authenticity of the landscape.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing contrived there. They don't make it up. It feels like it belongs. It feels like you're walking through nature in each one of those, and each one of them has a wonderful assortment of great golf holes that stand on their own.
Right. Nice. Excellent. Is there any signature to your design? I know like Pete Dye has the railroad ties or, a few other things. Is there anything that if I was looking at and I was looking for a Martin design, it would catch my eye?
I don't know. I'm certain that the people who play my work would tend to, offer some conclusions. I would hate to think that there's a single signature. I like to think that my golf is playable, but sturdy. You can, for the average golfer, they can get around and enjoy it, and they don't feel like they've been beat up. But to really play well, you have to really play hard and think. So there's a pliability to that I like to think I work into every project.
Beautiful. Greg, in terms of the ASGCA, are there any initiatives or anything happening in the association that is new and exciting?
Yes, we are currently working with the USGA on what we call the Site Evaluation Program, and that's something where golf courses can apply for grants, and part of that grant would have an ASGCA member as well as a USGA green section employee come out and visit the site and provide recommendations on how to move forward. These would be general recommendations, but it would be begin to lay out a kind of a framework or a path to making improvements at your particular facility. We're also working with U.S. Kids Golf, which is a phenomenal organization, and we're looking at ways that we can help U.S. Kids Golf get more playable tees and more playable design in for youth links. Both those initiatives are relatively new, and but each one of them are succeeding in phenomenal ways.
If folks want to get in touch with Martin Design, how should they do that?
You can certainly call me at 630-482-2532 or visit the website, and there's contact information there at mdpltd.com.
Greg, thank you so much for being on today's program. It was really a pleasure to speak with you.
Thank you very much, Gabe.
Great stuff from Greg right there. And we have an August chocked full of good stuff coming at you. And I want to let you know about the schedule that's coming up. On August 8th, we're going to have Harvey Weiner. He is founding partner at Search America. He's actually the gentleman that created the GM COO model. On August 15th, we're going to have Paul Levy. He is the Vice President of the PGA of America. On August 22nd, Frank Vane will join us, President of the McMahon Group. And on August 29th, Cam Schultz, he's the Vice President of Marketing at VGM Club. And he actually has his own podcast called Club Sense. We talk about that as well. Hope you can join us. Keep coming back all throughout August, every Monday here on Private Club Radio. Don't forget that if you'd like to vote for the next show topic, something that you want to hear, go to privateclubradio.com/vote. Cast that ballot because this show is all about democracy. Well, until next week, here's to your membership success.
Just because this round is over doesn't mean you can't enjoy the 19th hole. Check out privateclubradio.com for more. Private Club Radio is brought to you by Shake Creative, the premier marketing and design firm, helping prestigious clubs increase and retain their membership. Visit shaketampa.com to learn more.